Hi, I'm Rob, pastor of Calvary Chapel, Turlock. What should a Christian think about the current campus protests? It's been 6 months since Hamas terrorists and Gazan civilians invaded southern Israel and committed unspeakable acts of violence and barbarity against Jewish civilians. And America's young elites have started to openly side with the Palestinians. Over 1,200 Israelis were killed and over 200 hostages were kidnapped and taken back to Gaza's terror tunnels. And now there's an increasing consensus that most of the remaining hostages are probably dead. And yet, there is very little by way of the international community calling for the release of the hostages who are still alive. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Demonstrations are currently sweeping American college campuses, from the Ivy League to major universities to Humboldt State in Northern California. Who would have imagined? Students have set up encampments to demonstrate and to demand that their schools divest from any institution doing business with Israel. Some of these protests are openly calling for the destruction of Israel. And in some schools, Jewish students have been warned to stay home for their own safety. Beside the fact that many of these students are attending university on the taxpayer's dime, with loans that will never be repaid, and that many of them have been admitted to fulfill some diversity quota and not by their own merit, why is this such a big deal to us? Why should we care about a bunch of spoiled brats skipping gender studies class to join the latest political demonstration? Because the educated young of our nation are now siding with Islam against Israel in general and Jews in particular. This is a wake-up call for us, because Islam, by its own theological confession, is at war with Judaism and Christianity. We are the infidels, and we are the universal impediments to a worldwide caliphate. And yet, their support is gaining steam. These sit-in students are the national leaders of tomorrow. In 10 to 15 years, these kids will start assuming very influential positions in media, politics, education, medicine, and entertainment. They will be the bankers of tomorrow, and they will decide where to invest and where to divest huge sums of money in sovereign wealth funds and public pension plans. It's a scary picture, and yet we don't have to be very creative to imagine how protests against Jews can very quickly become protests against Christians. Genuine evangelical Christians stand in the way of the seamless social acceptance of the left's agenda. We oppose abortion, homosexual marriage, transgenderism, feminism, earth worship, and the Marxist redistribution of wealth. It won't take much before the cries against Israel become the cries against the church. All of this uproar makes Jesus' words about the end times very poignant. Speaking to his disciples about the end of the age, he said in Matthew 24:9, "Then they will deliver you up to tribulation and kill you, and you will be hated by all nations for my name's sake." There seems to be a global shift in the attitude against the Judeo-Christian worldview. Biblical principles that allowed the West to come of age and Christianity to thrive are now increasingly vilified by global power brokers. The World Economic Forum favors socialism, and American young people apparently side with Islam. That's why we as Christians now, more than ever, need to know what we believe, why we believe it, and how to live out our faith in a very hostile world. Because every day that passes, we get closer to Jesus' prophecy of end times. The followers of Christ will be hated by all nations. So let's draw close to the Lord and keep our eyes on Christ and hold fast to the faith. We shall not be moved. Thanks for watching and have a blessed day.